Wow, guys, Audacity really wants me to buy their fucking coffee mug. I don't think I'm going to do that, though. Sorry about that, about my voice right now. It's like 4 fucking a.m. And we're gonna talk a bit about what I've been up to, because I haven't been up to much. As I told you, I have a fucking job, so I go 8 hours a day, and I come back at fucking 1:30 in the morning. And then I try to go to bed and wake up at a reasonable time for the next day. But what I've been doing, other than fucking around with this Windows 95 box, I'm gonna have to have somebody else service it, though. What... I ordered a ThinkPad. Now, you might ask yourself, like, wow, that's like the most normal fucking statement you've ever made. Wow, a Linux user ordering a fucking ThinkPad. Like, wow, what is this? And I had a specific reason for getting a ThinkPad specifically. So, I've been interested in Geeks for a bit. Not Geeks the package manager, but Geeks the operating system. And I had read on the System Crafters page that they're like, okay, make sure you're not using non-geeks for anything. You know, they get all pissy at the Geeks community if you have any blobs. So I joined the Geeks community, and the first thing I asked them is, okay, I need a fucking computer to run Geeks. Like, what should I do? And they said, oh, just reuse your current computer and just use non-geeks for the firmware. Nobody gives a fuck. I was like, well, that's kind of anticlimactic, but anyways, my computers are in use right now, and the one I could possibly use for this is, it's got a Radeon RX 5 something in it, like a laptop GPU, and that causes all sorts of issues on any Linux distribution, just because AMD's laptop GPUs were awful. But specifically on Geeks, I'm like, okay, if it's throwing me a warning that this graphics card ain't gonna fly, I'm probably not gonna wanna use a laptop with a Radeon graphics card in it. So I said, okay, well, who's the best, like, libre compatible Linux, computer manufacturers? And the first thing they told me was, well, basically, if you have a GPU or you have Wi-Fi, you're probably not going libre at this point unless you're, like, buying an X200 or something. So I looked it up. I looked up the Respects Your Freedom certification, which, it's fucking retarded. It really is. Basically, like, when I always remember this quote from somebody that said, if it was up to the FSF, we would be running computers that are, like, we'd be running 15-year-old ThinkPads, and that would be it. That would be what the whole world runs on, in, like, Power 9 servers and shit. And, then I looked at the Respects Your Freedom certification page, and that was kind of correct. That's basically all you had. So I asked the Geeks guys again. I said, okay, well, do I need to get a, like, special laptop for this, something that's Linux Libre compatible? Like, I know my Starlight is mostly compatible except the Wi-Fi, so if I just added the Wi-Fi to it, would that work? And they said, yeah, that's fine, just, fuck touchscreens or whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't care about touchscreen, because on this computer I'm probably going to be using, like, EXWM or some Emacs shit or something, I don't even know. But, so I was like, okay, well, what companies can I use? And the obvious choices were, the one I didn't expect was System 76. I mean, I knew it would work with Linux, obviously, but I didn't expect them to be almost fully Libre compatible. Same thing with, I was actually surprised to find that Framework was not, at least according to the AI, was not Libre compatible, but that may be just due to their Wi-Fi and maybe graphics cards, I don't really know. I don't know, but then they told me don't buy a Framework because they are kind of weird updates. Like, they have trouble updating their firmware, and they've been vibe coding a bit, so they were like, recommend against that, get something by, like, a real manufacturer. So what they recommended, instead of buying a $1,200 laptop, was to buy a ThinkPad. And I said, okay, well, I mean, yeah, I can get a Libre booted T480 or something. Let's see how much those are. They're like $600 fucking dollars. I'm like, goddamn. So then I found a T580 listing, which is like the bigger T480 variant. It's only got like 8 gigs of RAM and an i5. It's nothing special. Like 128 gig SSD. But it comes Libre booted, and I have a Wi-Fi adapter that uses like some Realtek or something, I don't remember. Some sort of Wi-Fi card USB thing, which is Linux Libre compatible. I'll try to link that if I figure out where it is. Join the XMPP, by the way. So, yeah, so I ordered the ThinkPad, and it hasn't come in yet, but I was kind of surprised at not only how little options there are for libre-compatible hardware, because that's what they were saying mostly, is just buy a normal laptop and just pray it's compatible or something, because, like, for the most part, if you don't have a DGPU and you have external Wi-Fi, you should be cool on Linux Libre, supposedly. And I didn't want to take that risk, because I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I have laptops, but they're not gonna fly. So, but they said, just use non-geeks. Like, I was kind of surprised at that. I was like, why are you recommending the non-free? And they said it's not our fault that, or rather, it's not your fault that there's no compatible Wi-Fi cards. It's just, modern issue. So I made a joke about that to somebody. I said, yeah, we need somebody to make like a, what is it, MPCIe or something, M.2, whatever, Wi-Fi card that doesn't have any blobs in it. It's just like completely open. But that's unrealistic, I guess. Because like I said, the FSF would rather us just use 15-year-old ThinkPads than progress in technology. So I was tempted to get a more modern laptop, but I'm like, I don't really like prices right now. I don't really want to spend $1,200 on a project laptop if I don't have to. I would much rather spend $300 on a project laptop. Something where I don't really care or whatever. I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's been kind of interesting going down this Libre rabbit hole, because the people I thought would be really against non-geeks ended up being okay with it in some cases. Because, like, we can, and what other people are telling me is that the people who are really into these things end up cheating a bit. So if they can cheat, why can't you cheat, And I'm like, for my first time doing it, I want to try to run no blob, so I'm going to use this external shitty Wi-Fi. I'm going to get the free laptop with Libre boot and all that. I'm going to do it the right way, I'm probably not going to get very far. It's probably just going to become a different sort of project machine rather than a geeks one, but I don't really care. It's just something to work on, something to do, my off time. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's been, I don't know, you'd have to like comment if you found any better solutions or whatever, because I figured out that some of the Linux first manufacturers were almost there, but some of them like couldn't get RYF certification or whatever. Purism's OS, which I don't really give a fuck about, is FSF endorsed, but that's about it. I wish I had saved this blog post, because it talked about all these companies who had tried and failed to get Respects Your Freedom certification. And, it was kind of sad to see that they would get written off for, like, a technicality. It'd be like, oh, your GPU is wired to your CPU in a specific way that's non-free. Even though it didn't involve any blobs, it was just the way it was wired. And that made me realize that, like, with modern technology, when you're relying on these vendors to make and really just like hardware designers in general, when you're dependent on them to make your computers, they don't have a vested interest in, in being completely free open hardware design, which is something that's interesting about RISC-V, is you can potentially have a return to open hardware, free hardware, open hardware. And that would be interesting to see like full-blown desktop computers that have no known backdoors, that run an open BIOS or whatever. I don't even think it needs a BIOS, like U-boot or something. Something like that, or just having a piece of hardware where it's completely Libre, like it was. You might have been able to have that ideal in like the 80s or something, but not anymore. And that's just kind of the way it is. So, it's whatever if that's the kind of future that we're going to live in. But I was trying to explain to somebody, he was asking why we don't see, like, pirated movie uploads in WebP or, whatever. And I was like, they just kind of use whatever the, like, media technology isn't like software design. Like, you have people that are making the most proprietary royalty shit known to man, but it's really good software. So like you use the really good software and it ships free with your OS usually. It's just in Linux's case where we're kind of skirting by on nobody double checking that we're redistributing all these codecs to random users. And we're just kind of hoping and praying that doesn't fall through. So it would be nice if we had a libre alternative, just I don't think that anybody really cares because, yeah, your computer can play H.264 just fine, so what do you care? Like if you're using a libre distro, I don't know, running the distro box or something, I don't even know. But, yeah, so that's what I want to try. I'm realizing I'm going to make a lot of sacrifices, and that's probably what's going to get me on non-geeks. I don't even know how long I'll last just on completely free software, but this isn't a computer I need to use for a whole lot of stuff. Like my desktop, obviously, not only do I have the NVIDIA drivers, but in firmware, but I've also got I open up Twitch streams and shit, so codecs are a huge issue for me, of course. And that's why Fedora's been such a pain in the ass. But yeah, I thought I'd get this upload out just to kind of enlighten you on what I've been working on. I'm going to try the blob-free route first, see what happens, and then I'll probably install non-geeks just to get my internal Wi-Fi going, just for the speed, if anything. And that'll be fun. I could use Ethernet if I wanted to, that's also an option. But that's all for now. I'll see you guys later. Bye.